Chris.
Keith.
Yesterday, the SAG-AFTRA union kicked off its strike against video game companies to collectively bargain for their voice actors. I will now audition for the lead part a supporting role in GTA 6. Yo, what up, female protagonist? Because this is the first GTA game with a female protagonist. Welcome to Vice City. We only have two rules. One, watch out for the notorious bad guy that has a pet alligator, because it takes place in Florida this time. And number two is always keep your 9mm on you. What? You don't have a 9mm? Slides across table. We're sitting at a table. Anyway, welcome to Vice City. I also do sound effects. Oh no, it's the bad guy for the whole game, Sea Dog.
Sea Dog.
And he brought his pet gator. Oh no, please, Sea Dog, don't feed me to your gator.
Sea Dog's gonna Sea Dog, you know.
No! I start getting eaten, and then it's up to the protag to shoot the gator. Well, no, is that must be a side quest? Because
surely that's later game.
Are gators gentlemen?
Yeah.
Or are they? I forget. Poopsie whoopsies. What is the
cutie pies?
They're definitely gentlemen. I don't want to hug one.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how you get into like a death spiral, probably.
But then after you shoot the gator, the in-universe GTA parody of PETA. What's the organization?
Yes, that's PETA.
Yeah, PETA.
They show up and they protest you. You're canceled, actually.
That's kind of the least of my problems if I'm the female protagonist.
Of GTA 6, yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Samantha.
Oh,
welcome
hi.
back.
Thanks for having me again.
You're back for episode 107 of Mobius Tubes, a video game podcast. We're recording this episode on July 27th, 2024. And we're all very pleased to be here. What do you guys want to talk about?
You must have finished The Witness, please.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank God.
Not only is The Witness in the record books, so is Dave the Diver. I wasn't really feeling inclined to talk about either.
It's fine.
Yeah. The listeners have heard enough. I don't think my feelings really evolved in any way.
I'm so glad The Witness is over.
Until Corey rained on our parade where he revealed we somehow missed a key video that's part of the ending.
I don't care.
And we haven't looked it up. That's all I'll say.
Sorry, Corey.
Heath.
Hey, it's me.
What have you been occupying your gaming time with?
Let's count the ways. I let Charlie Day into my building on Thursday.
You did?
Because he stars in the movie currently. He's a pimp. And so he reached for the door that I leave locked. And so I was like, no, the rightmost. And he was like, oh, thanks. When I heard his voice, I realized, wow, that is recognizable. And he didn't even go by like an alias or whatever. He's like, hey, I'm Charlie, you know. And so I had to block the urge to say Luigi.
Wow. You met him in the flesh.
I'm so jealous.
Well, I mean, I have to redact that name, surely.
Yeah, you probably
because it's still in production by the time the people listen to this.
Yeah.
What will we have revealed? That Charlie Day is working on a movie?
In the zip code I work, which is easily
no one
deduced.
knows where you work.
But aside from Luigi,
You said we can count the ways, and it sounds like we've counted them.
Do you want to show him the Balatro merch you found?
Oh, I did find some pretty funny Balatro merch.
Yeah.
Is it literal pants?
Well, we do have an exciting episode planned. We found some ways to get Heath back involved,
Oh, good.
regardless of how many games he's playing in his free
Despite
time.
his best efforts.
Before we get to that interesting bracket competition in the back half of this episode, we just have two games to discuss for what Samantha and I have been playing recently. And spoiler, they're like the same games. Samantha and I have both been playing Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, the recent Switch re-release of the original 2004 GameCube cult classic. Is that fair to say?
I think so.
Oh, I'm thinking of Origami King. Sorry.
Yes, that was the native Switch game in the Paper Mario series, but this was the re-release. Just came out in May of this year. Seems to be like the definitive edition of this game. People are pretty hot on it. Not only is it my first time playing Thousand Year Door, it's my first Paper Mario exposure in general. And I'll get into why I'm having such a charming time with it. I'm about halfway through. Samantha's rolled credits. She's all done. Huge Paper Mario fan.
You're playing asynchronous.
Oh yeah, we've got our own copies of the game. Just kind of a book club thing.
Yeah.
Where Samantha has to restrain herself from telling me all about the next party member who's about to join me. Samantha, what would your elevator pitch for this game be?
Oh, goodness. Well, it's definitely not your traditional Mario game. I would say it has turn-based combat as you go through a somewhat quirky and charming story where Mario collects party members along the way to save the world, as he's always doing.
How many digital roots does it take to open the 1,000-year door?
Surprisingly, just 3.
Nice.
We'll get to Zero Escape after this. But no, Samantha's right.
The hell is Zero Escape?
It is the franchise that 999 is a part of.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
That's what you were referencing, right? With the digital roots?
Doors, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
But Samantha's correct. Paper Mario, it's kind of a accessible introduction to the JRPG genre. I really do appreciate it has into the Breachian small numbers you're dealing with, where your big Herculean attack is going to do 4 damage or something like that.
Yeah.
You're dealing with these very small, manageable integers for like the entire time. And I think that helps with the game's approachability.
I can say like the biggest, baddest boss in the game has like 200 HP.
Oh, that's actually way higher than I would have guessed.
And when you see that, you're like, oh my God, he has 200 HP. I'm never going to beat him.
That's like a mic drop moment.
Yeah, it is. It feels enormous. So yeah, it does. It's very interesting. You can very well plan your damage out. Like an enemy might have 15 health and you're like, oh, that's disgusting. That's too much.
Why do you play this game? I think a lot of its development effort and budget has all been specced into the charm and exemplary presentation of the paper crafted aesthetic. I think they get a lot of mileage out of the paper gimmick of the visuals, where everyone in the environment, Mario included, is a cutout 2-dimensional piece of paper. This will influence everything from your traversal abilities, like Mario can be crumpled up into a paper airplane to get across gaps and chasms, or slipping through bars or things like that. The way the world is envisioned as paper is not paper thin. It goes deeper than that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pulitzer.
The soundtrack is, I think, very strong.
Oh, foreshadowing.
I like a lot of the overworld themes. The battle themes are keeping my attention. And no, it's the charm. I'm being wowed by the charm. And that's a good thing because I haven't been hook, line, and sinker captured by the overall plot just yet. I do like it's broken up into a chapter structure where each chapter is fairly self-contained. And I do get engaged with whatever the issue of the current episode is. But as far as getting my long-standing interest in the overall through line of the plot, that's been less engaging to me.
I agree with what you're saying. My Paper Mario darling, Super Paper Mario, I think they do a better job of maybe getting you engaged in that overarching plot. But it's definitely at its best when you're like involved with specific characters within a chapter. You really get to know their like town or whatever environment you're in. And the chapters always have some sort of like quirky twist to them. And I also really appreciate that not all the chapters play out the same way. Like it's not every time where you just go into a town, you meet the townspeople and they're like, oh, there's a big bad on that hill over there. If only someone would go and kill it. A lot of them are very different from that. Like chapter 3, which Chris finished a couple days ago. That one, you're thrown into, how would you describe it? A fighting ring?
You're in a tournament arc.
Yes, it's a tournament arc.
You need to climb the ranks of this somewhat shady wrestling enterprise where the rich and powerful from across the Mushroom Kingdom flock to bet on the winner.
Yeah.
So you have to fight your way to the top and then beat the #1 wrestling king, Rockhawk.
Right. So suddenly you're not having any random encounter battles at all in that chapter of the game. You were always like signing up to compete in your next ranked match. So you know when the fights happen, you see yourself in like the leaderboards climbing the ranks as the Great Gonzalez, which is Mario's stage name. Suddenly there's not a lot of environmental exploration going on, not a ton, because you're confined to this building where the battles take place. Yes, Samantha, she called attention to what I think is maybe the most impressive part to me to Thousand Year Door, is that each chapter does have such a distinct identity to it. They are not very formulaic. So that diversity of ways they vary up the formula change the entire structure of the chapter, especially what you've told me of a late game chapter I haven't seen yet.
Should I say now?
Don't say it. I'll just leave it with, it seems to do away with combat almost entirely.
Yeah.
You were saying.
There is a late game chapter where, man, I want to say I had 2 combat encounters,
which is wild.
Yeah, which is pretty wild. So that was really cool. It was one of my favorite chapters. It was a lot of fun.
No, this game is chock full of interesting ideas and ways to kind of surprise you with where it's going next. I think it's nailed the minute-to-minute short-term storytelling. I just don't think that the quest to get 7 stars is that interesting of a motivation for the entire overarching quest.
I feel like where the overarching plot is at its best is so between chapters, like when you finish a chapter, you'll cut away to both see what Peach and what Bowser are doing. You'll get like 2 little cutaways.
They have parallel storylines.
They do. And usually you'll get to play as them for like a couple minutes just to kind of like see what they're doing. And I think where the big plot is at its strongest is when you're interacting with Peach, as she kind of gets to know this supercomputer AI who's one of the baddies. And I thought that was pretty compelling. I mean, it's not going to win any awards for story writing or anything, but I liked that component quite a bit.
And you touched on this earlier, Samantha, but this isn't the family-friendly version of Mario I've come to expect. I mean, this game is probably rated like E10 plus, but Mario in the opening scene arrives at the city of Rogueport, where there's a gallows set up right in the middle of the city square. I'm like, oh, that's a little risque for Mario.
There's empty shells underneath it.
It's almost crazy how unignorable it is. Like, it's the first thing you see. And like anytime they pan over the city, it's glaringly like in the center of everything. It never gets used, but like, why did they even have it?
I know,
there?
like Disco Elysium at least tucks it in the back.
Do you want to speak on the threatening email you got as Mario?
Yeah, Mario's in one chapter of the game. I'm receiving anonymous notes in the mail blackmailing me.
Oh, like Commander Shepard.
Capital saying things like, if you dig any deeper into this conspiracy, you're fucking dead meat. I may have paraphrased slightly.
Mamma mia.
But no, it's...
You're not used to Mario getting death threats in the mail, that's for sure.
Isn't there like a Goomba also that's in like Gamblers Anonymous or something?
Maybe in a different one.
There's plenty of adult themes in the Paper Marios.
Yeah. They definitely do flesh out their characters more. And in a lot of times doing that is like having them have like adult flaws. Not to spoil Origami King, I'll be as calm as I can about this, but in all the games you recruit like party members to travel with you and stuff. Uh-huh. And in Origami King, one of those party members dies really tragically.
Oh, I know which one.
Oh, it broke my heart when I watched it. It was really sad. And it's like, they're dead. Like they're a lot of times in Mario games, they're like, oh, they're dead, but they came back. Yay, everything's fine. It's like, nope, they're dead by the end of the game.
Sorry, you're going to make him play that one after this one?
I'm not going to make him if he wants to.
So this is an RPG, Samantha. How did you find the character progression and being able to like customize your play style?
Do you mean manage my upgrades?
Yeah. How did you grow your character as the game progressed?
Well, so there are 3 choices you can make when you level up. The first is you can upgrade your health. The second, you can upgrade your flower points, which is essentially kind of like your mana in a different kind of game. You spend these to use like special attacks, essentially.
Oh.
That can do more damage or maybe adds like a status effect to your enemy, stuff like that. And the third way you can upgrade your character is pretty unique. It's something called badge points. You can equip badges to your character and they will let you do things like increase your attack power or
Hollow Knight.
engage special abilities. I've never played Hollow Knight.
There is a similar system in Hollow Knight.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that.
But Paper Mario came way earlier.
Yeah, it was out for the GameCube. So if anything, Hollow Knight is like Paper Mario. And yeah, I definitely, my strategy when upgrading was upgrade my badge points at all costs. If I could get away with having less health, I would.
Yeah.
Because I loved getting those badges that like let you upgrade your attack or defense.
Yeah.
Or make it so enemies have a harder time attacking you. So that was a lot of fun.
It's like making the P5 Pro Tag exercise in his room. Why would you ever do that?
Well, you do it at the end of the game when you've already maxed everyone's friendship.
Everyone's badge points. That's right.
And then you just get super ripped.
Yeah.
It's great.
We haven't mentioned this is. It's
Do you know
pretty,
there's like obesity in GTA 6 now?
What?
If your protagonist does not adopts a lethargic lifestyle, you will just gain weight.
I think Rockstar has flirted with like some life sim elements in earlier GTA.
I mean,
games.
Arthur Morgan never was unable to get on his horse.
It would influence his stamina, right? But he was always able to ride a horse.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, we haven't talked too much about the combat. It's really traditional turn-based strategy combat with some real-time reflexes thrown in.
Yeah, because he smashes the hammer when you hit A.
There's essentially QuickTime events, which can amplify the damage you're doing or help mitigate the damage you're receiving if you can get the button timing just right.
Yeah.
And I like that some of the badges you can equip are kind of experimental. You can do things such as make the button prompt timing even more challenging for yourself intentionally to, I guess, wow the audience even more. Because every battle is a stage play. And the more you're impressing the audience, the faster you build up special meter
Star
abilities.
power.
It's Dead by Daylight.
Oh, yeah.
You can make your skill checks much harder.
And get some kind of benefit if you do.
You repair the generator faster.
Got it. So yeah, it plays
High
with
risk, high reward.
Exactly.
This is like a small thing, but you're fighting essentially on a stage in front of an audience. So it's like a play. So the audience will be populated with various NPCs. And if they're like the bad NPCs, like the ones that don't like you, they might throw something at you on the stage.
It's
and
like
you have to
wrestling.
go whack them before they do it. Otherwise, you'll take damage. It's like very small, but I find it very endearing.
Some of your fans in the audience could throw a helpful item to you.
And you can also smash them with a hammer if you're not checking properly.
I'm just so habituated to I smash anyone in the audience.
Those poor
I don't even
punies.
check. No one's interfering.
Okay, well, I can't see the punies because they're too small. So I do smash them like every time because I'm like, well, I see something in the audience, but I can't see what it is. So it's probably an enemy.
This is on the Switch?
It's on the Switch. I had high expectations going in, and so far they're being met.
But don't play Thousand Year Door before you play Super Paper?
Super Paper is my favorite, and I think it's the best, but I'm probably biased. You could play whichever you want. They're not like connected in any story way to each other. Just kind of like the style, I guess, and sort of like how the game runs itself.
It's like Final Fantasy in that way.
Unlike-
It has its own pocket universe.
Unlike Yoshi's Woolly World and Crafted World, which have a rich narrative.
I'm sure they
You
do.
must play them sequentially. You won't understand Yoshi's Crafted World unless you've beaten Woolly World 5 times.
You can probably skip Paper Mario Color Splash, which I liked, but most people hated that one.
Right, because...
That's on the Wii U.
Yes. Well, the combat, I will admit, was terrible, and I hated it.
What made it so bad?
It's just like so boring. It's essentially turn-based combat, but you have to like play cards to play the abilities. Most of the time, all you needed was a really basic attack, but sometimes you were like out of basic attack cards. You'd have to waste a good one. It's just, I don't want to get into
Did
it.
you play this on the Wii U?
I did play it on the Wii
Did you
U.
physically have to put the card on the thing and then do the release thing?
I swiped the card using my stylus on the gamepad, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Man, that combat was terrible. But they fixed it for Origami King, which is much better. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Where would you personally slot the 1,000-Year Door in your Paper Mario rankings, Samantha, now that you've finished the game?
Oh, that's
Second.
really hard.
Second.
That's really tricky. I think
I'm putting you on the spot.
I guess I would have to put it second, but it's a close second with Origami King. I feel like that was a really good one as well.
So definitively in the top 3.
Definitively in the top 3. I mean, Super Paper Mario is always going to be number 1, unless they outdo themselves, which I doubt.
Now, if the colored pencils from Origami King had 200 health points in the final battle, that would have...
How do you know so much about Origami King?
I don't play games. I just know them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm impressed.
He's consistently surprised me over the years with what he knows. Yeah. In conclusion, I'm going to keep playing it. I've still got several chapters to go. I've also been surprised at how substantial of a game it is. I'm like 16 hours in and the end isn't in sight. So not a trivially short RPG.
The real question is, are you going to do the 100 Trials challenge?
Oh my God.
Unlikely.
Is this Devil May Cry?
I did it, and I want it known that I beat the final boss down there on my first go. So there.
So you're the
real
real
so
gamer.
hard.
Okay.
It was so hard. I thought I was going to die the whole time.
And that's Paper Mario, the 1,000-Year Door. We're having a great time with it.
Excellent game. Would recommend.
Enough of that about that. Let's get back to Forever Escape. What the hell is the other one?
Zero Escape.
Yeah. All right.
So last episode, Samantha came to the show
Speaking of doors,
having played 999, the first game in the Zero Escape trilogy, and that prompted us to tackle its sequel together. We've been playing Virtue's Last Reward. Originally released as a 3DS game, but we're playing it on PC, on Steam. And I've been kind of absent from this franchise for like 3 years, just waiting for a good reason to return to it. And now Samantha is my reason. And we're having, I'd say, an excellent time with it.
It's quite the experience, especially seeing how much they did with the format coming from 999, which I thought was a very strong game. But they've really taken it upon themselves to improve upon their formula.
what ship are you on now?
No ship.
Undetermined.
We might be not on Earth. Probably not, though.
I'll give a quick summary of what this franchise and this particular game are. These are primarily visual novel reading games with occasional escape room puzzle-solving segments to contend with. You are in a cast of 9 main characters trying to escape this kind of like they're called the nonary games, but it's kind of a life or death, betray or ally type of
Prisoner's Dilemma.
Prisoner's Dilemma.
Oh, she beat me.
You've
played the game.
You've presumably been kidnapped by, once again, some sort of unknown assailant who goes by the name of Zero and forced to compete in this game of life or death. This time, it's a mostly new cast of characters.
Let me guess. In the first game, Zero got away.
Zero was unapprehended in
Zero
the first game.
He
Did it-
escaped.
Not to give too much away, but given the Zero of the last game, it is unlikely they would be a repeat offender.
We don't know for sure, but this seems like a new Zero.
Oh, copycat?
Could be a copycat.
Who knows?
So Samantha and I are in the thick of it right now. We're in the best part of the mystery where basically all of the threads have been introduced and yet we don't have any answers for any of them. We're in the dark as much as the audience is.
For reference, so in the original game, if you hit the true ending early in the game, it would kind of boot you out and say to be continued. And you'd have to go and do the other endings, notably the safe ending, and then you could go back and go finish it. In this game, seemingly every ending you hit ends with to be continued unless you immediately die.
Kind of a calling card of this series is you must investigate the parallel branching plot lines. This is a decision-based game where there's different narrative threads to tug on. And this is a much more sophisticated system, full of like narrative locks and keys that can bar your progress. There seems to be just many more branches to investigate in general.
Yes, there's definitely, in each route, you feel like you have an idea of what's going on, and then you choose like a different route, and you're like, wow, I had no idea any of this thing was going on. There's definitely a lot to unpack with all the characters and their motivations and
What language are you guys playing this in?
English.
Okay.
It's been really compelling. I'll say this in the most ambiguous way possible. Samantha and I both looked at each other and gasped when a narrative twist was delivered through a menu UI element.
Hell yeah, dude.
It was crazy.
Both of us kept looking at each other right before this was happening, and we were like, what is going on? This is so strange. And then we went and looked at the menu, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
What a twist.
I've never seen a game deliver a twist using that method before. It was crazy.
I'm guessing party member is removed from the party and added as like an enemy in the UI.
There's no real
We'll leave it as
combat.
anyone's guess.
Okay.
No, in many ways, this game's gripped me far more than the first game. It is, in one very notable way, inferior in my opinion.
Not as many doors.
No, there's many more doors. The character portraits in this game. Oh, man.
Okay.
So the original 999 was a vanilla Nintendo DS game. Not a lot of raw processing power under the hood. To compensate for that, characters are portrayed in the game as beautiful 2D illustrations. The 3DS, though...
A beefier handheld.
It's a little bit beefier. Not where it needs to be, though.
Chris, or fellow Zero Escape dev, we got to shoot for the moon. We needed 3D polygons for each of these characters.
So there's very low resolution.
Check this like prototype build, and it's just a potato with a face drawn on it.
We've got these low poly 3D assets.
No,
for
it's
the
going to look great
portraits.
when we launch. It's going to look fine.
I'm assuming this looks better if you played it natively on a small 3DS screen. But we're playing it on a massive TV where the character portraits are blown up to be almost life size, and they're... Oh my God, they're rough.
Just squint.
They're horrible. And one particularly damning example, one of the characters, her neutral face is like a bright smile. But this is not really a game where bright smiles are often called for. So she'll like deliver devastating news. Like maybe her friend has just died in front of her. And then she'll be like, who did this? And then immediately turn into her bright smile. And it just takes you out of the game sometimes. You're like, that's ridiculous.
They're such lifeless husks. They've got rudimentary animations. It rubs so much salt in the wound because when you're booting up the game, you see there are the opening cinematic that plays. They use 2D illustrations of the characters they have sitting around.
Yeah.
They just didn't use them in the game proper.
Nah, you got to go for it when you're on the 3DS, baby.
Yeah, it's... Man, who thought that was the right call to make? I am baffled.
Very bad call. Again, it probably looks not as horrible, not blown up on a huge TV, but it's still, they should have gone with the 2D portraits.
There was nothing wrong with the 2D portraits. If it's not broken, please don't fix it.
They wanted to make Alice's Prow 3D.
Her what?
She's very well endowed, and she doesn't wear a shirt.
She's got a big personality.
Big person.
That's what that's called? A prowl?
They referred to it in the game as that.
Is that a posh
I feel like it's a boat
descriptor?
term.
Oh, it's a boat term.
Yeah.
It's a very nautical game.
Yeah, very nautical description.
Anyway, also, so this game has very funny moments seemingly out of left field all the time.
Some of the dialogue choices are just completely out of pocket.
And to get you more involved, Heath, we've created a guessing game for you.
All right.
We've gathered around 8 or so examples of seemingly very strange goings-ons. Some of them are from the game. Some of them we have fabricated out of thin air.
These are dialogue options?
We'll explain the circumstances to you. You have to guess whether this event we describe occurs in Virtue's Last Reward, or did Samantha and I make it up?
Okay.
Good luck.
Good luck. All right, here's the first example.
It's time to play Plot's Last Reward. I don't know how to make a spin on this.
Yeah, we need a good segment name for this.
Called. Yeah, we'll figure it
Fact
out.
or fiction?
We'll pipe it in.
All right. So one of the main characters you have a bit of an antagonistic relationship with, Dio.
Zawurdo.
He is dressed as and professes to be a stage magician.
Oh, that has to be legit.
That sounds plausible to the uninformed Virtue's Last Reward player.
Is there an either or to this?
He does have a top hat on. It's just, do you think that happens in the game, or did we make that up?
That has to be in the game.
It is not in the game.
No!
But that's because in game, he is somehow a circus ringleader and dresses like one.
He
That's
reveals
like the same.
he reveals his profession is he manages a circus.
That's the same thing. Come on.
Is it?
Oh my God.
Okay. All right. Now, you'll redeem yourself on number 2. This game chock full of puzzles and escape room things to figure out.
Yes, of course. Yes.
When a character is reading back to you a code for the current safe code you're trying to crack, they mistakenly say Agricola instead of asterisk. They mix up the word Agricola and asterisk. And in order to reference the niche hit German farming board game from 2007.
Oh, yeah.
This game has a character is trying to make Agricola references.
Wow. That's too much a board game factoid that you would try to pipe in. That doesn't seem real.
It does seem to cater to my interests pretty well.
I'm gonna say that was fabricated by you guys.
However, that is in the game. No,
You cannot imagine the expression on Chris's face when the character says Agricola, and then the other character responds with, "Wow, I didn't know you were into German farming."
German efficiency board games.
Yeah.
About subsistence farming.
It became his favorite game at that moment.
It really rose several marks in my opinion.
Unbelievable.
He might as well have been saying splotter.
Might as well. All right, moving on. Your main character you play as Sigma.
Hell yeah.
He is canonically cursed by a cat to speak in cat puns whenever the topic of felines are mentioned in conversation.
This is for sure in the game. If I know anything about JRPGs, I know that they can't resist having a cat character, be it Persona or 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. This is true.
Correct.
Your
Thank
RPG
you.
instincts ring true, Heath.
Phew. All right, I'm on the board.
Sigma is canonically cat cursed.
That gives me pause.
Oh!
I'm making my money. Yeah.
All right, you're one for 3 so far.
Fucking go.
Let's see if you can get it up to 50-50. The game explains erotic units, or EU, are brought up as a system developed to measure a combination of physical, emotional, and situational attractiveness. For example, it is well known that Marilyn Monroe has 20 EU, the maximum possible EU score.
20 is the max?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Gilbert Gottfried has 0 EU. He has no erotic units.
That was like a standard that you just introduced, right? That's not in the actual game. They don't mention Gilbert Gottfried, surely. That's...
Gilbert Gottfried is mentioned by name.
Wow.
When they're explaining erotic units and how they work.
Then I guess you said it's true. All right.
It's true. Yeah,
Okay.
that's in there.
Wow. How do you quantify? All right. Well, hell. Okay, but it's a JRPG, so doesn't half the cast is just teaming with EU?
Yes.
Okay. Or no, maybe everyone looks like they are, but then the nerdy girl with glasses has 7 EU. But if she takes them off, it's a 19.
We're sadly missing a nerdy girl with glasses in our playthrough.
Yeah, everyone has 20/20 vision as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. The protagonists come across a magazine talking about a specific lunar eclipse that's going to be happening soon.
Ooh. And
when they're discussing it, it is revealed one character comes out strongly as a moon landing hoax conspiracy believer.
That sounds plausible. I'll say that's specific enough. That's got to be in the game.
I'm afraid not.
Come on.
The lunar eclipse magazine is, but the moon hoax is not.
Yeah, everyone believes in the landing.
Oh, they're all Sugoi. I wish I was on the Apollo mission.
All right, this is the second to last one, Heath. You can redeem yourself.
Yeah.
So there is a pandemic allegedly raging across the world in the game called Radical 6.
Ooh, that's almost as cool as the T virus.
Which gets its namesake from the initial case afflicting Radical, a famous internet streamer in the game.
What? the virus's namesake
After patient zero,
is
Radical.
after the patient zero's name is Radical. That's not real. You're trying to come up with something. They wouldn't call it. There's so many better ways to like name a thing.
Your BS meter was on point, Heath. That is false. We made that up.
Do you want to know how it became named Radical 6?
Sure.
Well, it's a little bit of a spoiler.
Okay, I won't say anything.
There is a pandemic called Radical 6 going on, but we made up the streamer part.
Radical 5 was taken.
Lastly, early in the game, when you're getting to know the cast and a character, you ask a certain character, hey, who are you? What are you? Their verbatim response is the following. Well, I'm not Superman, that's for sure. And I'm not Batman or Spider-Man or Aquaman or a Wolfman. I'm not a Brahmin or a common or a ramen.
These are bars. Oh, man was supposed to rhyme as hard as Brahmin, common, ramen.
Yeah.
That has to be real. That you guys couldn't have come up with something that goes that hard on your own.
Oh, it goes that hard. You think that's writing gold, huh?
That has to be real.
Yeah, that's in the game, 100%.
Yeah.
Samantha and I just like kind of looked at each other when we read that. What's going on?
Why is she saying all these things? Like she could just say,
yeah.
I'm
Is
a
she
normal
from
lady.
like Brooklyn?
No.
I don't think so. I think she's just a Japanese
She's from
lady.
Tatibayashi.
Anyway, you got 3 out of 8 correct, I think.
I mean, jeez.
Almost expected value.
You'd think a guy with an EU score of 27 would have gotten more of them.
Yeah, you would think. Anyway, thanks for humoring our little game we prepared for you, Heath.
And you know what? That game was its own reward.
Nice of you to say so. Samantha, do you have any closing thoughts on how you're enjoying Virtue's Last Reward so far?
I feel like you've covered everything I want to say. I'm just still enjoying how much further they've taken the game from the first one.
I am really enjoying it more right now. I think they have a lot to answer to with all of the questions that have been raised. I'm wondering how coherent of a landing it's going to have.
I could see ways in which they've introduced maybe like 3 different threads.
Just like Thousand Year Door.
There you go.
There's a Peach thread. There's a Bowser thread.
There are 3 threads, kind of. And I could see them tying it all up together. I feel like the ending might not be a positive one, but I could see it being satisfying, sort of like Danganronpa maybe.
We can hope.
Yeah.
And that's everything we've been playing lately. So with that, we're going to take a break and come back with our fierce bracket competition. We'll see you then.
You guys are physical media when it comes to Nintendo.
Yes.
News flash, Sony stops printing optical media.
What?
Yeah.
What's-
That's news.
Optical media.
CDs.
Oh, okay. Well, fine.
End of an era.
When you say Sony's not printing it, what do you mean exactly?
Like, there's no more discs.
That makes sense. I mean, we don't see a lot of cassettes anymore either.
We're going digital only.
Are you claiming...
Sony plans to stop production of Blu-ray and other optical discs.
I guess my question is, what was Sony making discs for?
Were they making?
Yeah, what were they making?
God of War Ragnarok.
So you're saying any game from a first-party Sony studio will not have a physical print?
They were like, hey, Sony, I need 1 million discs, please. And my game has gone gold, and you can put it on the discs. And they'll be like, that'll be $2 million.
Send me a link to this. I don't believe it.
I'll pick the most reputable source.
This can't mean what I think you think it means.
Kotaku Australia.
You can't trust anyone in the Southern Hemisphere.
It's a little racially charged of you, Chris.
They speak in opposites. So when they say they're shutting it down, they mean it's spinning back up.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, that's fair.
Spinning it back up. That was a nice pun. That's good.
Okay. They're stopping manufacturing blank Blu-rays.
What kind of Blu-rays are they gonna make?
Games, for example. Like, you can't now, as like a storage, save your family video on a blank Blu-ray. They're not sending the blank ones out.
Oh, that is different.
Games and movies are still being made.
Fine.
All right. Well, we have a new segment idea for this episode. We'll see if how well it lands. Maybe it could become recurring if we like it.
There's only so many good scores.
Well, we would swap out the category entirely.
Oh, best art design.
Best art design.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're going to have a video game bracket battle face-off determined by the three of us. We at Mobius Tubes are well known for our love of video game soundtracks. That's like the whole premise of Mobius Tunes, after all.
It plagues my music tastes.
So why not have our inaugural bracket face-off be in the thing we love most, video game soundtracks. The three of us will come to the objective conclusion of what the best video game soundtrack is. We have 16 nominees the three of us have collectively landed on. We have paired them up in what I deem to be thematically appropriate face-offs as they rise through the ranks until we get to the final selection that we will then rank at the end and present to you, the audience. And I'm sure there will be much debate had along the way. There's a couple things I think the three of us need to clarify before we dive into this exercise.
What counts as music?
I was wondering what criteria you guys want to assess these game soundtracks on. I had a couple ideas. One would be quantity of bangers. How many songs do we strongly feel are really quite strong on the soundtrack? Another thing that I think would have a lot of merit to consider is the diversity of types of tracks in the soundtrack. Is the soundtrack somewhat one note?
Good one.
Or can they present a diverse range of different types of themes and moods and tones? Samantha, you brought this one up. Maybe we assign more value to how cohesive the soundtrack is?
I think a good soundtrack should work as like a whole to kind of tell a story.
Do some songs seem out of place?
Yeah, like a soundtrack might have like a lot of bangers, but if they all just kind of sound like really different from each other, that just kind of feels like me listening to like a radio station. That should get negative points.
We should be looking at the soundtrack holistically.
Right.
I think that's pretty good. And I was a little iffy on this one. Do we want to grant bonus points if a certain soundtrack is known to be more iconic or like more referenced outside of the game? Or is that something we should disregard? I'm open to disregarding
I feel like it being more recognized outside of the game might just very well be a byproduct of it being such a banger.
That's a good point.
I agree.
All right, we'll write that one off. Heath, do you have any additions you'd like to make to the criteria or any subtractions?
I'm sure that as we move on and my picks get snubbed, I will invent criteria.
Chris, do you want to introduce the...
There's one more piece of housekeeping. Since it turns out Heath was not nominating Super Mario Brothers, the 1980s game, we need a substitute for it.
Because Brawl got disqualified on account of it being a radio station?
Yes. Also,
I think it's a little bit of a hack to put anything from the Smash Bros. Series in, since they're a compilation of a whole bunch of franchises.
Of some of the best.
that's cheating.
But are you going to put best album ever as, now that's what I call music?
Yes, volume 70, yes.
So no, for that reason, I think we can't include Brawl. You put forward Super Mario Bowser's Fury.
Yeah, that one sticks out.
Maybe you need to educate me. What are the strong tracks on that one?
It's the one that goes da-da-da-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. Scott the Woz uses it ubiquitously.
Okay. Do you think it's even better than like Galaxy, which has that? What's the one that everyone knows?
Yeah. Yeah, I had to go that far.
I think we only have room for one Mario game. We've tried to restrain ourselves to one game per franchise.
Galaxy songs sound the same though.
Oh.
I don't know.
Every single one.
What about like the bee planet where it's like do 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 do. I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
Heath, we'll defer to you. If you really think Bowser's Fury is more deserving of the nomination.
No. Galaxy fits. Galaxy slaps.
Okay. All right, with that out of the way, I can introduce our first matchup.
Wait, don't you want to talk about the rule that allows you to resurrect
somebody?
Oh,
yeah. I guess we'll get this housekeeping out of the way. So after 2 rounds of this process, we'll be left with our 4 finalists. At this point in the game, we must all come to a consensus. We can resurrect one of our fallen games to bring it back into the final round, so that we will have 5 games that we will then rank as the top 5 best video game soundtracks.
It's like a loser's bracket of 1.
Right. One can come back from the loser's bracket. This bracket, I'll just throw some credit where credit is due. This bracket idea is inspired by a podcast I listen to called The Besties. So just giving those guys their...
Nah, we invented it.
Their spotlight.
It was all...
Their flowers.
It was all original.
But I thought they have neglected to do a soundtrack bracket, so that's where I came in.
The Besties haven't invited us to guest on their show.
Right.
They're the worsties in my book. Until that happens.
All right, so the first matchup I have titled The Original Rivalry. Here we have Super Mario Galaxy facing off against Sonic Mania.
Easy.
This is by T. Lopes for the Sonic Mania tracks.
What best score conversation could be had without mentioning T. Lopes?
Now, I think all 3 of us, to some extent, are familiar with the soundtrack of Galaxy. Mm-hmm. Heath, could you play us live to react to a couple of your favorite tracks from Sonic Mania?
I did my homework. I listened to a little bit before I came.
Some of us are less prepared than others.
Some of us don't do their homework.
Some of us arrived 30 minutes earlier to record than was
okay,
known.
That's true.
Got him.
Got him.
So Sonic Mania is also cheating because it's tracks from previous Sonic games that are constant bangers. This is Green Hill Zone. And then it just has the T. Lopes instrumentation. It takes all those bleeps and blueprints and gives it an HD funky spin to make you just sit the controller down. I've rewatched Etika, rest in peace, play through Sonic Mania and have to deal with all of the other sound effects of like enemy mobs. At one point, he was jamming out so hard to the soundtrack, Sonic was running out of air because it was an underwater level and he was standing on the ocean floor and he was suffocating to death. And it was like, what's this inconvenient sound effect? Oh, I'm dying. So yeah, Sonic Mania is fatally good.
Fatally good.
Just for my own curiosity, what is T. Lopes known for working on outside of Sonic Mania?
Friggin', did he also do Major Magnet? And then he also did that new game?
Not Penny's Big...
Penny Breakout. Penny's big day.
Breakout.
Penny's off the rails. No, he makes shit tier iOS soundtracks.
Oh.
But he's just the best at it.
Okay. Heath, how...
Here's what like, Your Honor, the single tracks, and we're going to deal with the same thing when we do Bayonetta. The best tracks of Super Mario Galaxy walk Sonic like a dog.
Really?
I mean, yeah. What is it? Gusty Galaxy, right?
Yeah.
And then the other really good one from Galaxy. Musty Galaxy. I don't know. Too many galaxies. But that being said, as a whole, Sonic Mania is stronger than Galaxy. Because what's your 10th favorite song on Mario Galaxy? It's just the ambient, spatial...
Yeah.
Weak. What's your 10th favorite song from Sonic Mania? It's Lights, Camera, Action. Or no. It's Wild Style Pistolero.
You said that these are sort of revamped songs from like previous games. Do they go together pretty well? Like, do they all sound like they're from the same game? Or do they kind of sound like, well, this is really good, but it doesn't go with the other songs?
They definitely do go with the other songs.
Okay.
What I first played for you, that Green Hill Zone one, obviously Green Hill Zone is the very first Sonic level.
Right.
I played you part 2 of the Green Hill Zone. Every stage has 2 parts. Part 1 was a more authentic, fewer liberties taken recreation of Green Hill Zone's theme. And then I played for you the one that had a little more sauce to it. Okay. So you get the best of both. You get like a faithful recreation, and that's just for the stages that are from other things. If I played for you Flying Battery, your face would fall off. But for the stages that are bespoke and have never appeared in another Sonic game, Chris, you want to wake up really fast?
I'm awake.
Press Garden Zone. It's got the most sultry. Etika said it was the best song audible on Switch. I don't know if I would go that far. But T-Lopes, they're all home runs. It's just a matter of which ones go 400 feet or 300 feet.
I see.
Heath, tell me if I'm misspeaking here. Sonic Mania, a bit of a celebration of the entire 2D Sonic platforming games up until that point.
It's the best 2D Sonic game.
And since it's celebrating that rich history, cherry-picking a bunch of songs from across that run of games, it's fair to say Sonic Mania has a very deep back catalog of bangers it can draw upon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Metallic Madness. Yeah. Stardust Speedway. Yeah. Hydro City. Or as the cool kids called it, Hydrocity.
Does that count against it? I mean,
oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm cheating. I'm cheating.
Okay.
My two favorite soundtracks are Lies.
Oh, okay.
They're the greatest hits.
That being said, the best tracks on those scores are bespoke tracks.
Okay.
I dismissed Brawl, I think fairly, because it is from like a bunch of different games, but Sonic Mania is just from the Sonic games, and it's restrained to the 2D platformers. I think that's okay.
You have to reel me in because I'm just gonna cheat.
Heath, I think your enthusiasm is swaying me.
Yeah.
Now to give Super Mario Galaxy its flowers, it's great. It's really orchestral, very triumphant a lot of the time.
Do you even count da 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 as a song?
Yes.
Oh, is that the main menu theme?
Yes.
Yeah. Wait, for Brawl, do you count clicking on it with the Wii Remote menu? This like the splash, like the ear destroying. Remember that?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Deafening.
Maybe more of a sound effect than a song.
Yeah. How far does the soundtrack go? Does it include things like external music cues like that?
I think there's like released game OSTs. And if it's on there, it counts as soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Samantha, where are you falling down on this round one debate?
I mean, I loved Super Mario Galaxy, and I always liked the music. I feel like they do a good job of matching the music to the vibe of the current planet you're on. And I think I agree with Heath in that it probably doesn't have as many bangers as Sonic Mania, because Sonic Mania does seem to be a very like high impact soundtrack for each song it has. I don't know. Yeah, Heath's enthusiasm is doing a lot of work to put me in the Sonic Mania camp. So we'll see.
Do it.
I don't have one I'm dying to advance over the other in this round, and for that reason, I'm comfortable giving the win to Sonic Mania.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sonic Mania advances to round 2.
Who knows? Maybe Galaxy will be like the one that you bring back from the dead because the rest are bogus.
Super Mario Galaxy, it was an honor to be nominated.
Yeah.
Good
moving
soundtrack.
On.
Yeah.
Round 2. This matchup I've deemed the indie darlings. We have Undertale versus Cuphead.
My answer may shock you.
Real. I mean, if your answer starts with a C, it will shock me.
It does not.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is an easy one. I listened to the Cuphead soundtrack and I thought it was very good, but hard to beat Undertale, I think.
As far as let's talk about Cuphead a little bit, since it sounds like all three of us are in agreement that it probably won't be advancing.
You play as drinkware.
Cuphead, I think it's probably knocking it out of the park on having a holistically cohesive soundtrack. It's all there to sell that early animation aesthetic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
I think it does work really well with the aesthetic of the game.
Unfortunately for MDHR, what's the dev's name?
You know better than I.
Unfortunately for those guys, the soundtrack itself has 2 bangers.
Which boss fights?
Let's say it together. It's the flower one and a different one that I'm not thinking of.
Is it the dice one?
Maybe, yeah. I'm Mr. King Dice. Yeah, that one. With the girl who sounds like a guy.
Oh.
Whereas Undertale has double-digit bangers.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Unfortunately for Cuphead, Undertale is a game synonymous with the concept of game soundtracks, at least in my head.
My hottest take about the Undertale soundtrack is I think the in-progress sequel Deltarune has the superior soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I haven't heard part 3 or 4.
Right.
But if parts 1 and 2 are any indication,
It's better. Yeah. It's so good.
So should we put an asterisk next? I'm sorry. Should we put an Agricola next to
Agricola,
this
yeah. Oh,
one?
you beat me to it.
That Undertale is also kind of a stand-in for Deltarune.
Deltarune hasn't finished
No,
yet.
if you put Deltarune with Undertale, it's going to be too dangerous.
Yeah, that's like not fair.
That's not fair. That's not fair.
All right, then we will keep the word Deltarune out of our mouths for the rest of this bracket.
What's the Queen song? I forget what it's called, but it's so good. It's my favorite song.
That's your favorite?
Yeah, when you fight her boss music. Yeah.
That's your favorite?
It gets so good.
It's no Spampton.
Spampton is pretty good. I love Spampton. He's so cute.
It gives me too many Cadence of Hyrule vibes.
Oh, okay.
I can't not hear just like the BPM.
Congratulations to Undertale.
It's no Spider Dance.
I didn't love Spider Dance. I thought it was okay.
Wait, do I like Spider Dance?
You probably do. Everybody likes it.
I like Spider Dance.
It's fine.
I like Spider Dance. I love Spider
Yeah,
Dance.
everybody likes Spider Dance. I'm a death by glamour person.
Oh yeah.
Banger.
All right, we're moving on to round
sorry.
3.
No, okay, no. Let's just chat more. What about the hip shop?
Round 3. This is one of the matchups I was most dreading because I have to kill one of my darlings. This is the JRPG juggernauts. We have the original Final Fantasy VII facing off against Persona 5 Royal. Big critically acclaimed JRPGs, one from the 90s, one from just a few years ago. Final Fantasy VII is definitely more iconic.
But that's not on our list.
It's not on our
is
list.
it?
I'm just mentioning it as an observation.
Got it. I think Persona probably has more bangers.
Yeah, I was about to say banger ratio is in Persona's favor.
Cohesion, maybe Final Fantasy takes it. I feel like Persona on the whole is a really cohesive game. Like all its theming is done really well to match.
Do you think an argument could be made that Persona 5 Royal's soundtrack lacks diversity? It is a lot of, smooth acid jazz.
Yeah, but that's maybe so that they could. I mean, it's a really long game. Like, so they feel like you're, I don't know, playing the same game after all that time.
Final Fantasy is going to have a more diverse palette anyway.
I think Final Fantasy VII's soundtrack is pretty diverse.
Because what? It's got you in the field, it's got you in the city, it's in the plant, the slums are
Right.
A variety of settings.
Whereas
Persona has 2 settings. It's got dungeons and school.
Dungeons and school.
I guess what I was trying to say is maybe Persona has to be more similar because it's such a long experience. They don't want you to feel like you're playing a different game as you go along. Versus Final Fantasy, the original was what, like 30 hours? Not that long.
Yeah, in that ballpark.
And it's like they can afford to get weird with it because you're not going to be in the game that long. And you want your environments to feel new to you.
All valid points. Here's what I consider to be a huge feather in the cap of Persona. Samantha, after 100 hours, you still like the main battle theme, Take Over.
Yes.
How many times would you hazard a guess you've heard that play?
I don't want to guess because it will horrify me. Surely hundreds.
It did not get old. That's a Herculean task.
Chris, come on. Neither does the battle theme in
You're
Final
right.
Fantasy.
You're right. Those Who Fight Further is also equally evergreen.
Chris, would you say there's a Final Fantasy banger that can compare to Rivers Through the Desert? We'll say.
Probably not.
Okay.
What's the song that plays during the most highly produced cutscene of Cloud in drag getting
At the Honeybee Inn?
I've yet to see that, by the way.
Oh, it's so funny.
I think the Shinra Executives theme is very good and imposing. When I went back and played Final Fantasy VII for the first time last year, its main menu theme, the soundtrack in general, held up so well. And maybe that's to the game's credit. He's trying to find the songs I'm thinking of.
I played
and
Those Who Fight Further.
He's struggling to find them.
I think it does actually say a lot that they remade this game and they think they stayed pretty faithful to the original soundtrack, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, that says a lot about the soundtrack, that it stood the test of time, and people wanted it back for what it was.
More modern instrumentation, but
sure,
otherwise similar.
Made it less bleep bloop.
I think the masses, the audience, will be displeased to eliminate Final Fantasy VII in round 1, but that's the way I'm leaning.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like it's a close call. I mean, I personally enjoy the Persona soundtrack more.
I think Persona 5 has the deeper back catalog of songs, and I think the highs are a little bit higher.
What do you think, Heath?
Yeah, just rip it off like a Band-Aid. I'm not going to...
All right.
I can't even devil's advocate.
Okay.
Then Persona 5 Royal will advance to the next round, which brings us to round 4 of the matchups.
Brought to you by Staples.
I named this one So Much Sex Appeal because we have,
like I said, Staples.
Bayonetta 2 and Devil May Cry 5. This is our character action game face-off.
Hey, Heath, can you play me a Devil May Cry 5 banger?
Play him the one.
No question. I can't even think of like a joke one with like doom fart noises. I mean, I immediately thought of a joke one.
This is Devil.
What's
Trigger.
Virgil's theme?
Virgil's theme?
Yeah, isn't Virgil's theme?
There is a
Virgil's
good
theme is like
theme.
that much. It's almost as good.
Yeah, it's almost as good.
Oh yeah, I do like this
This
song.
song.
Chris plays it at game day sometimes.
Meanwhile,
Wait, give her Virgil's theme as well.
Virgil's theme.
From Devil May Cry.
Oh yeah, you play this one sometimes too. Okay.
Oh, this one, yeah.
Oh yeah, Bury the Light is very good.
I feel like this game is having an unfair advantage for me because it sounds like the regular music I listen to. So
Account against Devil May Cry 5's soundtrack. All these songs are way too long.
but they're soundtrack
This
songs.
one's 10 minutes long.
Right.
That just means you won't hear them looped as much.
Maybe I've just been inculcated to think that a song is better if it loops more succinctly.
Also give her, for last one, give her V's.
You're killing me.
a little bit of bias.
He showed me the Bayonetta 2 soundtrack earlier.
Here's the thing. I don't even know which one I'm going to come out in support for.
I don't know this one. I don't know this one.
Chris, so far, the only reason I think Bayonetta 2 is even in a hint of consideration is that shop theme you showed me. What was that?
Oh, it's Rodin's shop theme.
I really liked that theme, but I gotta be honest,
It's so smooth.
Devil May Cry 5 is more to my taste. But it
All
does
right.
seem to be pretty cohesive. Like it sounds like they're all songs on the same album.
Yes.
I don't know how much we can say about the diversity of the songs.
Yeah. This is the Bayonetta shop music. It's been in the background of many a video essayist.
Yeah, oh my God. I'm Jacob Geller, and here I am to talk to you. No, he wouldn't use this, because he'd be like, this cave, no one has ever lived to see it.
He's such a Jacob Geller hater.
And that's why I have so many subscribers. It's because I talk about caves. I'm gonna give it to Bayonetta.
These two are neck and neck for me. I think Devil May Cry 5 has the single strongest song with Devil Trigger. But I think the average quality of Bayonetta 2 is higher.
I think I agree just because Devil May Cry sounds like a really good album I would listen to, but I don't think it's showing the diversity I want in a video game soundtrack.
This is just gonna show our lack of discipline.
Oh.
Because we're just gonna end up picking the scores that have it's the immovable banger versus the untouchable. What's the maxim I'm trying to use? The unstoppable
great.
banger versus the immovable holistic album.
Yeah.
I think the right answer, for me anyway, is Bayonetta 2. I'm going to side with Heath.
Smoke them.
Bayonetta 2 it is. Let's move on.
Move on.
His pants are itchy.
I'm going to listen to the Devil May Cry 5 soundtrack later, though.
And listen to Devil Trigger with Love Shack lyrics
Oh, yeah.
sprinkled in.
All right.
That's good.
This is round 5. Classically composed. We
Yes.
have Journey And we have Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight's classically composed?
There's a lot of strings and piano.
Yeah, so what? It's just a Dark Souls soundtrack?
I was struggling for a name for this one.
Okay. Bugs.
These are 2 indie games. I've played them both. Journey, I'm going to be real. I put Journey on the nominee list to give ourselves more...
Because a BuzzFeed article put it in the teens.
More cred here. Because Journey's soundtrack is nominated for a Grammy.
So was Sid Meier's.
Civilization 4.
Sid Meier's won the Grammy.
He did.
And yet it was nowhere to be found on Wikipedia's list of video game soundtracks known to be the best.
Because he's too busy making Civilization 7 to annotate that article.
I feel like Journey has what musicians admire in a soundtrack.
Oh, and Journey is by Austin Wintory. He's great. He did the Banner Saga as well.
It has what musicians would admire in a soundtrack, but maybe not what gamers want. Though I guess Journey isn't really like a traditional gamer's game, you know?
Yeah, you're not downing your Mountain Dew as you're playing Journey.
Speak for yourself.
Okay. I feel like Journey's soundtrack matches the theme of
I gotta
Journey.
wipe the Cheeto dust off of my increasingly long scarf. It goes to Hollow Knight.
I would want to give it to Hollow Knight. Personally, just far more Hollow Knight songs stuck with me than Journey's.
I don't like the Grammys.
Okay.
You know how that one, what is it, the 8-Bit Band won a Grammy for their rendition of Meta Knight's theme?
Oh.
They won a Grammy. I don't like it.
You don't hold much value
It was
on
like
them.
too jazzy.
Okay.
Oh. I like them.
And I'm me.
I like their rendition of Still Alive. I think it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Hollow Knight. Maybe we'll talk about you more in round 2.
Yeah.
All right, this was the other one I was wincing about as it was coming up. We've got sci-fi ladies with big swords. The category includes...
This is Chris's Bumble in search of.
We have Transistor versus Nier Automata.
Not easy.
Not easy. Transistor, it's from Supergiant Games. Darren Korb was composing, so you know it's great. I elevate it above the other Supergiant games because, hey, this is the one about an actual singer. Music is incredibly important to the narrative of Transistor, so it's very appropriate.
It's incredibly admirable how much the music is incorporated into the story. There's so little dialogue, but let's take like the first boss fight where you're fighting against Sybil. They don't really say much about her, but as you pointed out to me, in the background, you can hear like the corrupted version of Red's main song. And that's like a storytelling device. She's using Red's voice in a corrupting way.
Yes, it's very interesting.
It's very interesting. I've rarely seen a game do as much with music as Transistor has done with theirs.
I like there's many vocal tracks. The same could be said of Nier Automata, but many of the songs in Transistor are sung by Red, who is mute throughout the actual game you're playing, but you hear her voice through the soundtrack.
Whereas when I was playing Nier Automata, you know how you can unplug modules to reassign buffs?
Yes.
I took out the music module for the game and I respect my character, so I didn't even hear the music in Nier Automata.
You're making that up.
I'm gonna give it to a Transistor.
You cannot remove the soundtrack in Nier Automata.
What can you remove? The heads-up display?
Right.
Something crazy though.
There is a similar thing to the badge system in Nier Automata.
Okay.
Where your character has a certain amount of memory because they're an android.
Right.
And to free up memory, you can like uninstall the minimap, uninstall your health bar, and then you have more space to play with for like combat buffs.
But at the cost of information.
You can uninstall the quest log telling you where to go.
I mean,
Anyway.
I guess you could make that work if you just like peeked at the quest log every now and then.
But that would be very tedious.
Yeah, very tedious. I see the problem.
Anyway, this is not a point in favor of either game soundtrack, but
no, it's
fun
not.
fact.
Fun fact.
I will say in favor of Transistor once again, if you pull up the Transistor soundtrack and give it a listen, I think you're hard-pressed to really point towards other pieces of media that sound like Transistor.
It does have a very unique sound.
I think it's pretty unique.
You don't think so, Heath?
Maybe a.
I'll let Heath cook on that. I hadn't listened to the Nier soundtrack until today, And I have to say, it did give me a little pause because I love the Transistor soundtrack. I think it's one of the best I've ever heard. But the Nier soundtrack was quite good. I look forward to playing the game so I can hear it where it's intended to be heard. I was really impressed with the quality.
Prey?
You think Prey, both are kind of synthy.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the worst pull, but I don't think it refutes my point. All right. Here's where I come alive.
No, react to what Sam said.
Here's where I come alive and tell you guys why Nier Automata needs to advance in the next round.
Boo.
Nier's music is on a whole other level.
This is like 12 Angry Men.
No other game soundtrack is being touted out as a team at the Olympics takes center stage. Nier music plays at the Olympics.
It does.
Transistor music does not.
The opening ceremony is happening right now.
Yeah, it's Paris this year.
Transistor music wouldn't fit well with the Olympics. It's not an Olympics music. It's got the wrong vibe.
It would be the right vibe for a really sad country like Estonia.
Yeah. A country that's like, we had one athlete and he's not going to win.
Nier Automata is so impressive. Nice. The way the music is synchronized in many of the key set pieces or boss battles. Of course, there's the opera singer boss, which attack patterns are perfectly synchronized with the progression of the song that plays. A beautiful song, which she is singing, Simone. The fact that the entire soundtrack and one of the playthroughs of the game, at any point, no matter what song is playing, the soundtrack needed to be composed to be able to, at a drop of a pin, transition into an 8-bit rendition and then sync back to the orchestral version. Ooh. Back and forth.
Not to diminish any accomplishments, I don't think that's that hard. Sorry.
It's hard to make them both sound equally compelling.
Okay, I guess so.
They had to basically do the whole soundtrack twice.
The whole soundtrack?
Whole soundtrack twice.
I feel like what you do in that situation, if you know that's going to be like a big part of your game, is maybe you just kind of like design everything in 8-bit first and then you like glow it up a little bit for the orchestral version. So you know it sounds good in both.
I think the phrase glow it up a little bit is doing some heavy lifting in that
sentence.
Oh,
okay. Chris, which one of us has actual music composition experience?
Not me. So I assume it's like impossible to write music.
Never been done. Yeah.
Okay.
It's witchcraft.
I'm going to let you go off more about Nier because it was a really good soundtrack.
The Dynamic Ruins themes, Alien Manifestation, End of the Unknown, a beautiful song, the amusement park theme. The back catalog of Nier songs is so deep. The Weight of the World is the end credits theme. It's so good. The singer in The Weight of the World, as the game is ending for the final time, the singer is so moved by the song, breaks down and cries, and they keep it in the final take. Every lyric in this heavy lyrics-focused game, they invented an entire language called Chaos Language, which the singers had to become proficient in singing. This language doesn't exist.
Neither does Simlish, and they make those singers sing those songs in Simlish too.
We fade in on the Katy Perry rendition of Last Friday Night, where she's like, boo, boo.
That's definitely a somewhat difficult thing for a singer to do, but also The Sims did it.
Chris is like, no, the fate of the world, and we're just jamming out to Last Friday Night. They
have Country Boy, Take It From Me, I think is the song, and that one's really funny.
Let's give it a listen.
Chris, I'm so sorry.
He's rubbing his temples. Okay, well, heck, I don't feel bad about having Nier Automata move on because I feel like I can just pull Transistor out with my goodie Back from the Dead pass.
It's going to break my heart to not have Transistor move on. It's the game soundtrack.
Well, this is where we can resurrect it.
We can resurrect Nier.
I feel like resurrection in Nier happens like a dozen times.
Yeah, it's used to it.
I convinced you to flip-flop?
Yeah, because I know that I put it on my list because I knew it was worthy. I didn't put Transistor on my list.
Because you never remember Transistor. You didn't even put it in your top 100 games list.
Which
and we both know it was meant to be on there.
Which game are we talking about again?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I disagree strongly. I can't do anything about it.
You'll see the error of your ways when you play Nier.
What's her name? Blue?
Red?
Got him.
All right,
Nier Automata moves on.
Nier Automata's moving on.
Better win the
Olympic
whole thing
theme.
for this crime.
All right, here's our penultimate face-off. And for round 1, we've got peak fantasy vibes. This is where we have The Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim, and The Witcher 3,
Chris,
Wild Hunt.
Here's where you pay the piper for your crimes of the last round. Because you're kidding yourself if you think The Witcher is advancing over The Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim.
So both of these games share some similar strengths. You're adventuring in a large open world, and the music needs to sell the fantasy of out in the wilderness as you go in whatever direction your heart compels you. I don't want to discredit either by saying they're very full of ambiance, atmospheric. I haven't listened to Skyrim's soundtrack in probably a decade, but you pulled up a medley of Skyrim tracks before we did this segment, and I was like, oh, yeah, it does deserve to be on this list.
It's so memorable. You listen to the soundtrack when you enter a smaller village, and you immediately are taken back to that moment of when you were 13 playing Skyrim for the first time. It's a very memorable soundtrack. And for what it's doing within the game, setting the ambiance and kind of putting you in the world of the Dragonborn, I think it does a phenomenal job. And I think the Witcher soundtrack is very good. I like the sort of string elements it has to it, but Elder Scrolls did it first and maybe did it a little better, is what I would say, much to Chris's chagrin.
Heath, where do you fall in this debate?
I'm biased because I've played more Skyrim than I have Witcher. What I can say about Witcher's soundtrack is the same thing I'll say about the Final Fantasy VII Persona 5 debacle. There's more settings in Skyrim because it's fantasy. Witcher has one setting, and it's Eastern Europe.
That's not correct, Heath. Because you didn't make it outside of the tutorial.
Not true. My sword turned red in a cave with a girl.
Because I was going to come to Witcher's defense with the exact opposite point. I think it has a greater diversity to its soundtrack. Where Skyrim, it's doing the whole Nordic fantasy thing, which Witcher can also do when you go to the Skellige snow-capped isles. And it's doing its riff on Skyrim.
Yeah, but doesn't it still sound like Eastern Europe? Doesn't it still have acoustic guitar, accordions?
Now it's very Viking.
Tambourine.
It's very Danish. Where when you're in Velen, it is war-torn down on your luck. Battlefield tussles. And then you go to Novigrad, the big bustling industrialized city where it's very folksy, celebrating at the bar. But then there's also the benefit of the expansions, like you go to Toussaint, which is sun-kissed French fields full of accordion, and it actually sounds badass. A badass accordion, who knew? I think the Witcher soundtrack definitely has the greater variety. Having played both extensively, I'm confident saying so.
You couldn't even remember a Skyrim song until
Which
this
doesn't
morning.
bode well for its memorability.
Only because you played it 10 years ago.
More than that.
Yeah. I'm giving you less credit on that statement than you would purport yourself to have.
Skyrim sells the fantasy very well, but it doesn't have many earworms.
I mean, they're not like earworms in the sense where I'm like, oh yeah, put that Death by Glamour on, it's a banger, but it's like, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
If it were, it would take me out of the fantasy. And the whole point of playing Skyrim is to feel like I'm in Skyrim. And I'm glad it doesn't do that. I want to be in the game.
How do I be impartial?
Samantha, what's your favorite Skyrim song?
That's tricky. I'm not going to remember the title because I don't know things like that. But I like the one where it's like you're wandering outside any of the cities and it's kind of light. It's like maybe you're in a field, not high up in the mountains where it's not cold.
Heath, pull it up.
Based on that, very little to go on. I'm sorry. It has like the flute,
Here we
I
go.
think.
I'll just nail it. Hold on.
You're going to nail it?
Feels like the sun is rising.
I'm just hanging out. I feel like I'm wandering a fantasy world on my own, striking out for adventure.
It does immediately put me at ease.
Yeah, it puts you at peace within yourself.
Where Heath, pull up Geralt of Rivia, the main theme of The Witcher 3.
You're gonna
and
be
you'll
like-
hear the sound of adventure personified.
You'll be like, wow, this song is so exciting. And I'm like, yeah, it probably is. But I'm saying that those are not.
Ooh, intrigue. As we're swelling, getting ready to embark on an unknown perilous
We didn't
journey.
put on the Skyrim main theme. That's pretty adventurous.
we compared.
These aren't comparing.
We compared his version of Dovahkiin
Yeah.
with the most ambient milk toast Minecraft.
Exactly. It's like, do you want to put on Dovahkiin?
Samantha,
Do you want that comparison?
I asked you for your favorite song.
I put on my favorite.
Why is your favorite song a milk toast nothing?
It's so good though.
It's the equivalent
like
of
to
like
vibe.
we put on like a basic ambient sea shanty, and then he puts on the Pirates of the Caribbean theme.
Samantha, we're comparing apples to apples. You're doing your favorite song from Skyrim for my favorite song
You're
from The
saying
Witcher.
my subjective taste is different from yours. True. But you can't compare the main theme of The Witcher
He
and be
didn't-
like, look how exciting and adventurous this is. Because, yeah, it's going to be more exciting and adventurous than the ambient music in the game, Chris. It's
I'm just saying,
different.
The Witcher has strong ambient music and the bangers. Seems to be...
Many people would say Dovahkiin is their favorite. I am just not one of those. I don't think I'd probably pick The Witcher theme as my favorite either if I played the game through. That's what I am saying. My subjective taste doesn't match yours, and that shouldn't be a ding against Skyrim. That's silly.
My ding against Witcher is I don't care for bagpipes.
Uh-oh. Then should have said so earlier. I would have thrown in the towel. It sounds like I am outvoted here, but I think the listeners were able to hear my impassioned defense.
Yeah.
And those who agree with me will be nodding their heads silently.
And this will not be getting resurrected because we know what's coming back.
All right. Congratulations to the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Advancing to round 2.
Yeah, you get near at the expense of Witcher.
Yeah.
Right. If
yeah.
this wouldn't be a proper exercise if no one left feeling spurned.
Good.
All right. For our final round 1 matchup, we have my favorite title, Overflowing with Masculine Energy. The two games in question are Metal Gear Rising Revengeance and Yakuza 0.
So my immediate thought is, man, the Yakuza 0 soundtrack has so many bangers, but do they go together?
In this particular category, I feel like I can't lose because I'm really happy to see either of these games advance. Probably because I selected them.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably.
No, Yakuza 0 is great. I mean, it almost feels like cheating because we get to lump in the entire karaoke list of songs.
We do?
Friday night.
Okay, Friday night gets to go on there.
But the
Dami Dane.
Dami Dane,
But that's what I
Baka
mean.
Mitai.
They're really good. I like them quite a bit. They don't go together. They're like, yeah, it all sounds like Japan. So much of a soundtrack cohesive theme there.
I like many of the battle themes, like Pledge of Demon or Oath of Enma.
I mean, Yakuza 0 is probably going to move on.
I need more information.
You need more information
About probably Metal Gear.
Metal Gear Rising Revengeance.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Give me the pitch for that.
it has rules of nature.
It has.
It has to be this way.
It has. What's the one where he's punching?
It has to be this way.
Thank you.
Standing here, I realize.
The one where he's fighting freaking fog guy.
Oh, yes, the magnet guy.
Maybe that is Rules of Nature.
No, rules of nature is the giant Metal Gear in the tutorial.
Oh, you're right. That starts the game.
That starts the game.
All right.
And then it accelerates from there.
What's Revengeance?
Man, if you guys-
Monsoon's theme.
We're so down on this
Monsoons,
game. We could have put like Breath of the Wild in or something.
No.
That's why I'm like, Breath of the Wild probably beats Skyrim.
Okay, never mind. I don't want to talk about it. But I told you so.
Chris, the bangers in Revengeance don't eclipse Yakuza 0 on a whole, I don't think.
The standout tracks of Revengeance only show their face every time you hit a boss fight. In between bosses, which are standout moments, that each have their own custom theme, with lyrics accompanying them to like spell out their philosophy. The run-of-the-mill normal battle themes, are pretty forgettable.
Really? What's the Mexico just walking around music?
Why did you nominate this for best soundtrack?
Oh, because there's a ton of bosses and they all have amazing themes.
Okay.
The bangers are all at 11.
Okay. So the boss fights
I can keep
are
going.
free
A
play?
Stranger I Remain. Wait. I need. I'm thinking.
He could not keep going, folks.
Well, I have to be honest. What you played for me of the Metal Gear soundtrack was pretty forgettable. And while
Wow.
Sacrilege.
I do agree
Oh my
that the
gosh.
Yakuza 0 soundtrack does not go together, I think the songs are very good.
Doctor, say it isn't so.
Maybe if I play the game, I will think differently.
My face when my GF doesn't like the Revengeance soundtrack. And then it's when Sam gets his arm cut off. It's like, ah.
You guys did say this was full of masculine energy. I'm not going to get it.
Yeah.
It's not for
Yeah,
me.
just get it.
You just need to hear a hot wind blowing, and then you'll get it.
You also need to listen to that song that's called that. It's a fart joke.
All right, you guys vote your votes, and I'll agree with whatever.
All right, I vote for Metal Gear Rising
Oh,
Revengeance.
I mean, I'd probably vote Yakuza 0.
Come on,
Fair
guys.
enough.
I'll go with Revengeance because I feel like it's more of a soundtrack than Yakuza is.
I totally was not expecting this flip-flop.
It's Yakuza 0 again, all bangers, but it's not really a soundtrack, kind of.
Sitting there, she realizes.
All right, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance advances, much to my surprise.
Let's see how it does.
Chris can't lose. All right,
All right, we have
round 2.
round
Oh,
2,
my
4
goodness.
matchups here.
Let's pick up the pace.
We have Sonic Mania facing off against Undertale.
I'm very sorry to hear that, Heath.
I hate to see Toby go so soon.
That's sweet of you.
Probably the two soundtracks Heath is most invested in this competition.
Rough.
If you line up the tracks
Heath.
in order, it's probably Undertale, and then Sonic Mania for like 10 more tracks, and then Dummy.
What's Dummy?
That's a dummy boss fight.
let's hear it.
You wouldn't know. You haven't played Undertale.
Yes, I have.
Hey, Chris, why don't you tell the listeners what your favorite Undertale soundtrack song is?
It's probably Life and something.
It's
Hope.
Hope and Dreams.
Hope and Dreams
Okay, but that's not what I was talking
is
about.
probably my favorite.
That was the right answer.
What's your next favorite?
Core, baby. Core is so good.
Who is going hard for Core except Chris?
Core is like having a special affection to like the Pokemon Center. Dun 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 dun.
I also really like Waterfalls.
That's a
I don't
good
remember
one.
that one at all.
It's like the bell chimes.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I remember that instantly.
Ding, ding, ding,
Yeah.
Okay, fine. It goes to Undertale.
I'm sorry.
Let's just press on.
Heath.
I mean, it has
Yeah.
Megalovania.
Oh my gosh.
It's really, really good.
T-Lobs
What a-
can come back.
Undertale advances to the final 4.
Heath, that's what we're all telling ourselves.
That X can come
X
back.
can come back. It's going to be a bloodbath.
All right. In the next matchup,
Press on.
we have Persona 5 Royal versus Bayonetta 2.
Oh, thank God. I thought it was about to fight Nier, and I was like, I can't do this again. I vote for
Persona 5.
Persona 5. Yeah. Any objection?
The Persona 5 catalog just goes way, way deeper on account of it.
Bayonetta
being-
got off easy last time.
It almost didn't make it.
Yeah, but it got off easy.
It almost got shot when I pulled my devil trigger. But no, I think we're all in agreement. Persona 5 advances to the
Yeah, it
final
does.
4.
Banger.
All right, next up we have Hollow Knight versus Nier Automata.
I vote for Nier Automata.
Nier Automata.
Yeah, it's not even close.
Do we want to say anything about Hollow Knight before we
I listened to
send it?
some Hollow Knight, and I'm going to say another crime here because I don't think I'm ever going to play Hollow Knight. Maybe I didn't think it was that good.
Wow, what were you listening to?
I don't know. I just kind of skipped around. I don't know what the bangers are,
Okay.
but for the most part, pretty forgettable soundtrack.
Let's get Samantha's sincere take on.
But here's the thing: I listened to Nier the same way, and I was like, "This is very good." So, good soundtracks need no guidance.
Play City of Tears for her. Everyone loves the vibes in that. This is a city trapped in perpetual rainfall because it is beneath a lake.
Oh, that's cute. Yeah, okay. I see it. I say I won't play Hollow Knight because you told me it's a platformer and not an easy one, and I am very bad at platformers.
Here, here.
Yeah.
All right, congratulations to Nier.
Live without.
Final round 2 matchup. Wow, we're on.
If you're a game developer listening to this and you are actively programming platforming into your game, stop.
Please stop. Nobody
Stop.
likes it.
Make it a rhythm section.
Yeah, I can do those.
All right, we have the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim versus Metal Gear Rising Revengeance.
Well, I mean, I feel like Revengeance barely made it onto the list, let alone how did it even get here?
Skyrim barely made it past the goalie, which was Witcher 3 Geralt.
I would have just knocked you out and I'd taken over your spot on the podcast. I vote for Elder Scrolls Skyrim.
On this particular matchup, I'm fine laying Metal Gear down to rest.
It made it to the second round.
What an honor.
What an honor.
Cue up A Stranger I Remain real quick.
Just to send a Metal Gear off in style.
Let's see what Samantha says to this.
Which boss battle is this?
It's the French lady with many arms.
This isn't even in the top 4
Oh, this is
songs
really
on
good.
this OST.
I like it. I would listen to this of my own volition.
It's really good.
This is the same thing as Devil May Cry 5, though. It's just feeding into my own personal music taste. I'm like, give me that rock metal stuff.
I'm
I'll
my
eat
own
it
master now. That's a good one.
I'll take
You're playing
Guys,
to my
I
biases.
can keep going this time.
Yeah. All right, let's circle back
Skyrim
to
Advances.
Skyrim Advances.
All right, now for the fight.
So we have our final 4, and we need to resurrect one from the dead
Oh, right now.
right
Yeah.
now.
Okay, say it on 3, guys. 1, 2.
Wait 1 second. I need to think about it.
No, you don't.
1, 2, 3.
Transistor. Yeah.
Heath was out.
He knew.
It should be Transistor.
It should be Transistor. I think the most unpopular opinion we're going to be hit with when all the readers write in is that we did not resurrect Final Fantasy VII. That would have been my backup pick.
It's pretty good, but like play Transistor then, and then come back and argue with me because you won't. You'll agree with us.
Okay, so we've got our final 5.
Final 5.
And we're going to rank them. The top 5 best video game soundtracks.
Oh, okay. Starting with number 5.
Here are the 5 contenders.
It's going to be hard to rank these.
We have Undertale, Persona 5, Nier Automata, Skyrim, and Transistor.
I think Skyrim is number 5.
You took the words right out
No
of
one
my
fights
mouth.
me. It happened.
I am so glad we are simpatico on that, Samantha.
I like Skyrim. I think it was better than The Witcher. I don't think it's like my favorite soundtrack of all time or anything. I think it's where it deserves to be.
Heck, I like Transistor more than Nier.
Thank you. Where was this energy earlier, Heath?
Because it was up against
It
Jack
was up
the
against
Ripper.
Nier. Oh my god.
Round 1 was Transistor versus Nier.
Oh. And I let it.
Yeah.
Wow, I am my own worst
You
enemy.
sure are. Okay, I say we put Nier at number 1 just so Transistor can at least be at number 2.
Oh.
Wait, what? What did you say was number 1?
Because by the laws of logic, we have to put Transistor under Nier. So I'm saying put Nier at 1 so Transistor can be 2.
But Undertale's on this list.
Undertale is on this list. I think Transistor is better than Undertale.
That's wrong.
I would come out in support of Undertale over Transistor, I
Wow.
What makes you say that?
It's so good. It goes.
Transistor's got the 3 really good ones.
The ambient Transistor music is better than the ambient Undertale
The
music.
7th best song on Undertale creams the 7th best song on Transistor.
I'm saying the bangers are maybe in Transistor's favor by a hair, but the ambient is better in Transistor than it is in Undertale.
Yeah, but we listen to music. We don't listen to ambience.
Yeah, okay.
believe. Fair points being brought up on both sides.
You guys both agree Undertale beats Transistor.
If you're going category to category, yeah, Transistor's walking around tracks is a lot better than what's the Snow Village theme?
Yeah, no one knows.
Yeah.
Snowden.
No one's ever known. Yes.
Yeah.
But that's not how music gets compared.
You know what? I'm actually going to back out because the Undertale soundtrack was my most listened to album for like 2 years running. So maybe I should.
And then it became Tony Hawk's
Pro Skater.
I don't know.
No. Maybe we should work at number 4 then and come back to it.
Do I hear any nominees for what number 4 should be? I might put forward Persona 5 Royal.
I would love to put Nier at number 4, but I will put Persona 5 since I cannot. That's what I agree with you.
I love Persona 5, but I definitely feel stronger about Nier. I think I feel stronger about Undertale.
You feel stronger about Nier?
I do. In fact, if I could have my way, Nier Automata would be number 1.
That's why he was so delighted by my proposal.
I loved your proposal.
Yeah. Now that I know it cannot be, good luck seeing it at number 1, buddy. Yeah, I think Persona is at number 4. That's fine for me.
Yeah, fine.
Because it's not going to be Undertale.
He's okay with that.
Then Transistor is number 3.
I second Transistor being number 3.
All right.
Yeah.
And then the contentious number 1, number 2, where I would like Undertale at number 2.
Under Nier?
Under Nier. It's right in the title. It's under.
I can't hum a single note of Nier.
Well, you haven't played it.
That's why I'll have more dog in me when we do like best art design or something like that. Because I can just see with my eyes, but hearing with my ears.
Chris, I think Nier is very good, but Undertale is like the soundtrack of all time.
They don't whip it out for the Olympics, though.
Why would they?
Yeah, why would they?
It's chiptune. They can't do that.
That's like in the Japanese's DNA.
And Deltarune exists. So if you were, God forbid, they do a legendary edition like that for Mass Effect of the Undertale Delt pack, it would be unbeatable.
Yeah.
Heath, am I hearing you too are in favor of Undertale in the number 1 position of best game soundtrack?
I mean, it makes a strong case. And like, so tell me why Nier is better, because it's got the opera singer, and then when you beat the game the 11th time, the vocals kick in.
If we're counting creative sound design as part of the gameplay, then Transistor should have been higher. As it's not, Nier does not get to put that in its favor for best soundtrack. Best soundtrack as you are listening to it.
You have no idea how creative the soundtrack of Nier is integrated into the game.
No, I don't, because I haven't played it, and I will play it.
Sans' voice is SpongeBob. That's as creative as he gets.
I noticed Undertale has some very impressive chiptune music. Nier has its entire soundtrack as chiptune and orchestral. It's twice the soundtrack.
There are orchestral versions of all of the Undertale songs, should you seek them out.
Are they in the game?
It's not in the game, but you're acting like there's some big task to change from a chiptune to an orchestral, and it's really not. It's not asking for a lot. Once you write the music out, yeah, it takes a little skill to add in the cellos and such, but not that much. Sorry to the music composer that did that. You're very skilled, I'm sure. Sounds like a good castle theme.
If I'm outvoted, I'm outvoted.
But you're going to be unhappy about it.
I mean, I got Nier all the way to number 2. That's pretty good.
A good compromise means everyone leaves unhappy.
Yeah,
He's mad because Sonic Mania didn't even crack top 5.
Undertale's better than Nier.
Then I think that's how Sleeping Dogs Are Gonna Lie.
Wow.
We didn't nominate Sleeping Dogs. That soundtrack sucks.
All right, then the Mobius Tube's top 5 best video game soundtracks are number 5, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Number 4, Persona 5 Royal. Number 3, Transistor. Number 2, Nier Automata. And the number 1 best game soundtrack is Undertale.
Yeah.
Honorable mentions go to Video Ball.
What's
That's Tim Rogers' game. Eschatos.
We had Portal 2 on the list, and we had to remove it, as well as Halo.
Oh, yeah.
The Halo monk chanting, of course.
Of course.
Man, one banger can skyrocket a whole soundtrack.
That's what we determined, and that's why we left it off, because it really is just one banger.
Yeah.
But it's so good.
Still alive from Portal.
Chris, if your goal was to convince me to want to play Nier more, it's success.
Well, I'll take that. That's a very fine silver lining.
Start with Replicant.
If you think it's better than Transistor, I gotta see what you're talking about.
Yeah, you need to come back and either come grovel on your knees, be like, Chris, why didn't I support you? Or you can tell me I was smoking something.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
Folks, if you want to tell us that we have no taste in music, you need only write in to mobiustubespodcast@gmail.com.
Yes, write in to mobiustubespodcast@gmail.com. Tell us our biggest snubs.
Yes.
Explain to us how foolish we were not to include Tetris.
Herb Club Penguin.
Or the original Endless Ocean. Listen to it and tell me I'm wrong.
Hopefully you've enjoyed this exercise. We might try it again with a different category in the future. Yeah, interesting exercise. Thanks for doing it. All right, we'll catch everybody on the next episode. Bye.